Three, two, one, we're rolling. Hello folks, it's me, Cox Wickan, and we are back on our show Tea Time with Cox Wickan. Today, I'm delighted to have two guests on the show, Mary and Calvin Hayes, the brother-sister acting duo extraordinaire. And they've got a new film coming out, a feature, in fact. Clocking in at nearly 2 hours, I believe.
Yes.
Yes,
more.
is that the runtime? More than 2 hours.
Almost 3.
Almost 3. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to have quite the time with this one. All right, folks. Let's get down to it. You know the drill on the show. Each of us has picked a tea. We're going to explain why we picked the tea, and then we're going to get into some nice questions while we drink our tea. So I'll start with myself. I picked the Trader Joe's choice, their organic Earl Grey tea. Now, you know I'm a fan of Trader Joe's in many respects. And
Lollipops.
Yes, lollipops. But also, their level of finesse extends to tea, I feel, as well. So their organic Earl Grey, it's really just, it's a nice affordable tea option if you're looking to not spend too much money. And it's also got that nice morning flavour that it's a perfect way to start off every day. Mary Hayes, what did you choose, tea-wise?
I chose the vanilla chai. It's a caffeine-free, and I love it because I can drink it any time of the day. And it's very soothing and warming with all the spices, and it's one of my favorite teas.
And Calvin, I understand you chose the controversial Irish breakfast tea.
Yeah. Well, unlike most people, I've met Irish people before.
Really?
Yeah. And also, my red hair comes from Ireland.
It does. So
Yeah.
you're seeking to drink this tea as a way to get back to your sort of inherent cultural heritage.
Yeah, when I was in Ireland one time, I drank this every day.
Really? Well, that's fascinating. All right. Let's pour the water, shall we? And we'll get on with the questions. Bag it up. Don't you love it when you pour the water in the tea and it immediately turns to a nice sappy brown?
Yeah.
All right, folks, so this is an interview I've been looking forward to for a really long time. Now, you know I'm a long-time Nunthian Films fan, with my favorite film obviously being The Outlaws Alliance. Now, I'm gonna start off with a few questions about that film, and particularly the shooting of the final battle of that film, because, I mean, I know alongside many viewers, I found that to be one of the most climactic moments captured in your repertoire.
Yes.
Now, you both had differing levels of importance in the final battle.
I died.
You died. Explain to me how it felt giving Johnny Beans a fitting end, going out
You
in the
mean,
best.
like-
I mean, was it?
You mean like mentally or physically? Because it hurt when I did that starfish move.
Well, yeah, I mean both.
Well, I thought this is Johnny Bean's last stand, so I have to go all out for him.
Yeah.
But apparently, since we're filming our new Crux, I get to be him again.
So you confirmed that Johnny Beans is in the Crux.
He's in the trailer.
He is. Okay, I thought that might have been him, but I also wasn't sure if it could have been a flashback of sorts or something, because you know Nunthian Films is known for their tricky trailers and all that.
Yeah, but also Nunthian Films is known for, having people back again.
It's true. It's very true. So I have something to look forward to more than previously before. So well, that's very exciting. Could you explain to me Madison's role in the final battle? I mean, the final conflict with Ozzy Black, where she delivers 5 successive shots straight to his chest. I mean, how did it feel to finally give her that satisfaction as a character?
It felt great because since I played her, I felt like I knew how she was feeling in that moment.
Yeah.
So it was nice to have her have a final closing with Ozzy Black and all this trouble over the last few years.
Yeah, it must have been an extremely euphoric moment.
Definitely.
I must assume. So that movie, fantastic film. Now, I just want to ask you both a personal question. So you each play many, many characters over the scope of the Nunthian Films body of work. Now, if I had to ask each of you, starting with Calvin, what would be your favorite character you have played, both from a fun perspective and from, a quality perspective of the character itself?
Well, one of them is the Bob Wallacesaurus.
Ah, fantastic.
Mostly from the fun perspective because it's fun walking around in an inflatable dinosaur
Oh,
without
I'm
any
sure.
lines.
I'm sure.
And it's just kind of fun to, run around and thwack people with my head.
Yes.
Yeah. But also, landing jokes with Johnny Beans was also pretty fun.
Yes, landing. I mean, because you seem to delve yourself into every character you play. So when I saw you take on the role of Yowler McGee in the controversial Western noir film In Cold Blood, I saw the same level of dedication to Johnny Beans, but it wasn't manifested in a comedic manner. No, it was stoic and powerful.
I wrote that.
You wrote that? Okay, you wrote that. Well, that's very okay. I'll ask you about that in a second after we finish this question. So, favorite character from fun perspective and otherwise.
Probably just in general Madison because she has such a long journey, but especially in the Crux, I'm super excited about even how much farther she goes in that movie and her emotional journey with all the characters.
I'm very excited.
It was my favorite character I've ever played.
Well, that's awesome because from the trailer, we did see Madison, but at the moment we saw, because we know Jake is going to be in the movie. We know he's one of the leads. The moments where you see her in the trailer are primarily moments of that All Mountain ascensions in the final. So what I expected was that Jake would go up All Mountain and then they'd snap. Then he would leave. We'd see him get away right before he died. But I mean, it's a real treat to hear that she's in more of the movie. That's a very exciting thing. So Calvin, back to In Cold Blood. Now, what was the greatest challenge of writing this movie, especially coming from the perspective of solely doing acting? How did it feel to craft a story in which you would play the lead, in which you had so much control?
Well, I really like the Outlaws Alliance stuff, but out of all the westerns I've seen, it's a really good movie, but it didn't feel like it had enough western feel in it.
Yes.
It was
Bars,
more cowboy.
duels. It's more more like cowboy, more like
Almost like a bit like the Avengers films.
yeah.
Although much better.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was fun doing this. Well, I wouldn't new concept for Nothing Films, but not new concept. Just kind of wanted to do a regular western.
Oh, I
and
see.
I'm planning on making a second one.
You're planning on making it? Is there anything you can tell us about it right now? Just bare bones plot. I mean, he died, we think.
Yes. You think.
We think. Oh, that's very exciting. Very exciting.
Speaking of, I think there was one movie that me and Mary co-directed that never got released.
Yes.
Was it,
The Journey.
The Journey? Now that one, there was a press statement
there's
about
actually two.
it. Another one.
Yeah. The second Adventures in Triumph never got released.
There was a
either.
second one.
There's a trailer.
The
for
Rise of Necrotis.
Yes, it never
Delayed
got
due to the
released.
pandemic.
And then we hear his name in the Crux trailer.
So you're telling me that the Adventures in Triumph 2 sets up the Crux.
Yes, that's where
Perhaps
that's
introduce
where
the villain?
the character Necrotis first comes in.
Really?
But
That's
it's
fascinating.
set way back when. Which we weren't planning on making a second one, and that's why we didn't really care about how modern it was in the first movie.
Sure.
But now we kind of try harder to we had to have Mary do an activity, so we thought we'd just give her a rank.
Yes. Well, no, the trailer was, it was particularly fascinating to me with the beautiful, I believe it was Claire de Lune music. Special effects, absolutely superb. Because we'd seen special effects
Yes,
in gunfights before, but with the swords,
Yes, where we first always in Nothing Films we always do gunshots.
Right.
But then Adventures in Triumph was the first special effects where it was wands and magic and all that sort of stuff.
We're not counting Jedi battles.
Oh, right, a horrendous
That's
film.
horrible.
Is there, I have to ask, is there any possibility that Nothing Films would move forward with perhaps another Star Wars film?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I don't, since there's not a trailer or anything official released, I don't really want to tell you about it.
All right,
But there
But
is
we are
something
doing
to make-
we're not. Jackson Hayes is doing a Star Wars like a fan-made Star Wars
Oh,
film.
beautiful. Well, that's exciting.
And I have seen some of the props for the movie, and it looks incredible.
The
and
props?
I cannot wait.
Well, that's
3D
very-
printing.
3D printing. What kind of?
I mean, you know,
Man-
your normal Star Wars stuff.
Mandalorian stuff.
Oh my god, I love that show.
It's going to be very
Well, that's exciting. That's very, very exciting. So back to your film, The Crux. Now, this clocks in at, you said, 2 to maybe 3 hours because you don't know the full runtime, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean,
That's the
Just
editor's job.
That's the
filming
editor's
job. We don't know.
filming half of it on the first time we were filming it. It was about an hour and 30 minutes, and since that was half of it, seems like it may be 3 hours.
Maybe, all right, but this is just an estimate. But it's going to be long. We know it's going to be
It's
long.
definitely, it's a feature film.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's very exciting. Now, from how I understand it, and from how the fans understand it, it's a massive crossover film.
Yes, it
So
is.
we get many, many characters from many different times and periods in films. So I'm personally just super excited.
Yeah.
Now, I have to ask you, whose character were you most excited to bring back into this film?
I was gonna say Beans, but since the future the big film we did right before that was Johnny Beans, so I was kind of used to the character.
I see.
It was a good. Also, this Beans is more of a. Well, he's not fat, which he's a bit younger.
Sure. So it's like the Johnny B. Is it? I mean, I
It's
don't
a
want
few
to.
years after.
But it's before Secret of the Silver Oil.
Yes.
Okay. That's very exciting.
I mean, like barely, because he's not fat in Secret of the
Sure,
Silver
he's
Oil.
not. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, but also, in the Crux, Private Plum was originally going to be Tank.
Shut up.
But since the character development didn't really work out in the end, we just decided to make it his brother.
All right. So, well, that's cool. I might say I'm a little bit disappointed. But is there a possibility of getting either before or after the Crux a film about this
Yes.
Plum character? Yes.
Yes.
In development or?
We've planned out the story.
All right, pre-production. That's very exciting. Well, yeah, and I feel we're getting these films that almost deliberately set up the Crux. Like the last two Nanthian films releases. I mean, you had Goldenrod, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we saw her in the Crux trailer before her movie trailer even released. Now, from my understanding, was that film shot after the Crux?
Yes, it was.
Very
So
interesting.
they had, I think the whole story was they had kind of the idea of the character, and then we put her into the Crux, and then the story wouldn't really make sense unless she had a backstory.
So
Right,
they
right,
kind of
right.
had
So
to
then we
hurry
filmed
and
it.
release
We
something.
filmed
I
it
see.
afterwards.
And it was a good movie.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it very much. It was it likened back to the old war films I watched as a lad, in an incredible way, very self-aware of this genre. But no, as I was saying, the Goldenrod film, and then we got the Lucy and Jane film, and at the end of that film, we see that she is teaming up with Indiana Jack, which I mean, I lost it in that moment, and so it also said that she will be appearing in the Crux. Her adventure continues in the Crux.
Lucy and Jane.
Yes, Jane in particular.
And also, it was actually shown at the end of the Goat Killer that she was calling.
Yeah, that's what I was
So
talking
they
about.
live in the same timeline.
Yeah, well, that's
So
very
that wasn't really a cross. I mean,
Sure.
it was a crossover. It just wasn't timeline crossover.
indeed. So it excited me extremely. So will we see Indiana Jack in this film?
Yes.
We will. He's
We
one
will.
of the crossover characters that is in it a lot, trying to solve the big plot.
Him
That's
and
very exciting.
him and Private Plum, kind of at the same level
Really interesting.
of like mainness in the movie.
And so the way the way these films have been ending up, particularly the Lucy and Jane films and the Indiana Jack films. We've had 3 Indiana Jack films, and by now it's 3 Lucy and Jane films. The way they've been winding down, in Indiana Jack, you've got it winding towards a climactic face-off with Jerry Sandler and Lucky John, or at least Jerry Sandler. I'm hoping Lucky John's in the movie because we saw his character in the Irish Hospital was not as fleshed out as it could have been, but I sensed the potential, if you know what I'm talking about. So we got the Indiana Jack movies leading towards that climax, and then we don't see it. It's a to be continued. And in Lucy and Jane, we've got the thread of the spoons, and also her story is now tied to Indiana Jack. Is it possible that we will see the combination of that particular saga in the Crux?
Yes.
Is it possible?
We'll have like a bar fight type scene.
Really?
Like a fist
A
fight.
fist fight between Jack and Sandal?
Jack and Sam.
Oh, that is bloody brilliant. But in addition to that, we see there's a similar occurrence with Goldenrod, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the Goldenrod film, she does get sent to Poland to fight probably Crux again. I would assume she comes in contact with this man again. Now, is it possible that we'll be seeing the conclusion of that story?
Yes.
Yes. It is.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this movie couldn't get any better.
And
Yes.
it's all that's not really like the end climax. It's more beginning to middle-ish.
Yes, the Crux is like the end of all the short movies and like the end of like this whole
Yeah.
journey, I guess.
Well, that's
Not all of it.
Well, I feel I'll probably shed tears. Oh man. Well, and as I also understand it, the characters from Mohawk play a huge role.
Yes, those are some of my favorite characters probably. I
Yeah.
just feel like they didn't get to show all their like
I think they got
skills and stuff in Mohawk. They just like
Well, sure,
Kinda got
I agree.
destroyed.
Well, yeah, Mohawk
But
is
when we were filming the Crux, like I saw the characters like blossom, I guess, like and saw their different skill sets rather than just the skill sets it shown in Mohawk.
well. That's awesome because Mohawk. I loved Mohawk actually. It was one of the most exciting Nunthian Films products, I would say. It had a very Nolan-esque vibe to it, if you get my meaning, where the clock was ticking and we had this big gargantuan British mission. It was stunningly exciting, but I do feel that Mohawk and Plain Hair, as far as their skills were concerned and as far as their development in general was
Yeah.
concerned, it left me wanting. It was
Yeah.
slightly lacking because I mean, in that film, the coolest character of all was undoubtedly Redhead.
He's not in this movie.
He's not in this movie. Okay. Well, but do we get time? We get time to see the other characters shine,
Yes, we do.
Mohawk a tiny bit, but
Mohawk,
especially Plain Hair.
especially Plain Hair.
He's one of the leads.
One of the leads. Okay. Well, if you had to break it down to the 3 lead characters, who would it be?
Necrotus, Iron Jake, and Plain Hair. Would you agree with that?
I'd also say no, yeah, I think that's pretty much.
Very exciting. And is the villain from Mohawk in it? Or,
No.
Yes. No.
Well,
No,
Erasmus
he is-
Raven.
he is.
Erasmus.
Erasmus Raven is it.
Bloody hell. Erasmus Raven is a very exciting character. To me and a lot of the British population. Him and Redhead were, for me, the highlights of that film. And even Queen Victoria was very, very cool too. Now, as I understand it, that film was one of the only ones shot on a new device you have called the gimbal.
Yes, that is a new filming device to help us with angles and shots and making shots smoother and more fluent, I guess.
Really?
And it's been really helpful.
Did you get a chance to use it in the Crux?
We did. We can use it for some really cool shots, and I'm excited for everybody to see them.
Well, that's very exciting. I assume some fight scenes we see.
Oh, yes.
God, yes. Well, that's exciting. And speaking of fight scenes, upon viewing the trailer, it looks to be an action-packed film. Now, for you two, what were the most grueling combat scenes to film?
Grueling
To be honest, I wasn't in a lot of the combat scenes.
Me either, but to be on set during some of the action scenes, I could just see everybody's.
Gruel.
Yeah.
I would see
Yeah.
the Lucy and Jane fight scene. Or, I mean, like, the final battles, like.
Well, is Johnny Bean's fight in the film?
Yes,
Oh, awesome.
but not that much.
And will we? Again, I don't want to pry for spoilers because I don't want to get you guys in trouble with the execs. But is there a possibility we'll see Beans use his ping pong paddle that he got from the mysterious stranger?
Yeah.
And in tandem with that, do we figure out who this mysterious stranger really is?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
But don't say it.
Why would I say it? We're not allowed to. We see him use the paddle like in this other Civil War movies, and the mysterious character plays a pretty big role in the whole plot.
All right. Well, I can't wait any longer. I'm very excited because the execs told me that when you guys were coming, we'd be able to air the new trailer for the Crux on this show.
Yeah.
Can we?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's watch it right now.
This was once my home. I was once a lost man, much as you are now. Patterns, cycles, such is the way of things. You and I are not so different after all.
The Lord of Time, Bill and Pete, has just died. A crazy pharaoh named Crux is hunted across time for elements to make himself the Time Lord. A lunatic named Raven started it all. I need you to come with me to the Crux of Elbros.
Which one of you calls yourself Johnny Beans?
You're looking at him, sea rabbit scum. To tell you the truth, I'm not a very safe person, nor a very good one.
Whoa.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, first of all, those combat scenes were incredible. The sword fighting, I mean, I could see the gimbal shots you were talking
Yeah.
about, where I can't even describe it, but it was fantastic. The way the camera sloons in, just nice and slow, and gets those.
What does sloon mean?
It's a British term that means to slide slowly. Now, I mean, those fight scenes were fantastic. I mean, we saw Beans getting the poop kicked out of him by this pharaoh, Necrotus, who looked to be of a bigger stature in the final fight. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to that. And I am blown away by the fact, I mean, we saw the Bulbasaurus in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, briefly, but he was there.
Yeah.
I mean, I was bloody fantastic. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I-
It's pretty hard. Like for me, it's hard to think of characters in nothing films who aren't included in this film.
I mean, there's like some of the weirder characters, was the obscure stuffed owls in it. He had that magic stick.
Obscure stuff. That was a funny one. I don't want to talk about this other huge reveal that also just blew my mind. It's a double reveal.
Billy Beat.
Billy Pete! I mean, Billy Pete from the Silver Oar trilogy, the narrator,
Yeah.
who I thought operated outside of the world or something, but...
Only Augustus and Waldo do that.
Right, yes.
They're good guys.
They are. They're
If you're
cool.
watching at home, you're good guys. Waldo.
Now listen, okay, it's a double reveal because they also reveal he dies in the trailer. They say, the Lord of Time, Billy Pete, has just died, right? So that's crazy. I assume that could be what sets in motion most of the story. Could be wrong. But
A person
that-
has an effect on a plot doesn't mean he's necessarily a main character.
it's true. But I assume he dies early on too because they revealed it. And again, we see Raven in it, who is just a savage. Well, not necessarily. It seems like he's torn a bit. He's trying to follow his new master Necrotus's wills. But there's also a sense of reservation in the scene, in the brief scenes we get between him and Madison Ranger, I believe.
Yeah.
So do they have a relationship in this film?
Yeah, because obviously they had no way of knowing each other because of Silver Ore and all that stuff. But they do, their relationship, they get stuck in different situations together, and then they just form a weird relationship throughout the whole movie.
I'm psyched for that. Okay, well, that's fantastic. And the producer looking at me, we're almost out of time. So before we leave, I have one final question. What do you think fans will love about this movie the most?
It's a crossover. Because everyone that the fans like between the dinosaur things and the westerns and the sci-fi all
Yeah.
I think they'll like the
come
plot
together.
the most because sometimes with these big movies, the plot can get kind of confusing.
Yeah.
But with this movie especially, I think it's super exciting and clear, and I just think,
Well, that's great.
I think the fans are really going to like the plot.
Well, I'm super excited. Now, I've heard about a release date in spring, I assume. So I will be eagerly anticipating the formal announcement of the release date and then the successive viewing of the film.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't be doing anything else that day. I'll just watch it several times probably because the movie's always chock full of Easter eggs. Calvin, Mary, thank you very much for coming to Tea Time with
Thank you for having me.
with Cox Wickan. Now, cheers.
Cheers.
Bravo.